MacArthur. I'm a nutritionist, fitness trainer, and health coach, and I'm obsessed with helping mature women live their best lives through movement, nutrition, and correcting some thought patterns. Through the lens of New Year Fresh Start, I want to talk about joint pain. Initially, today, we were going to talk about knee pain only, but after your feedback this week, I've decided to make this a more general discussion. As women of a certain age, things start to hurt, right? We get stiff, we get pain in our joints. I'm talking about our knees, our hips, our shoulders, our neck, our toes, our fingers. This can happen even if we've been fit and active, and it can feel like we're starting to become limited. We're being robbed of our choices. Our power is being eroded away little by little along with our joints. Now, as much as my 96-year-old aunt tells me I've worn my hips out, and she's had two hip replacements, so I guess she knows, arthritis, arthritic knees, hips, shoulders, is actually more common in people that are sedentary than it is in people who are active. So if you're a couch potato and you've spent your working life in an office, you are just as likely, in fact, you are more likely to have arthritic pain than someone who's run marathons like me. You know, I worked with horses for 20 years or has thrashed themselves in the gym. The other thing that happens for women is as our estrogen levels drop, it affects all of our tissues, including our connective tissues like cartilage, our tendons. Everything becomes a little bit drier. I hate to say it. A little bit less elastic, I guess is a better way of putting it. A little bit less elastic with maybe not quite such a good blood flow. And so things start to get injured and things start to hurt a little bit more. But despite all of those things, I think that the chief culprit when it comes to joint pain is inflammation, or as we now often call it, inflammaging. Um, Now, I've had two back surgeries. So I've had two surgeries on my spine. I've had a partial knee reconstruction, and I'm now facing two hip replacements. My back alone could have stopped me in my tracks, but I chose a path of strengthening my core to protect my lower back. And I went on to run several marathons. I kept riding horses. I trained and competed in bodybuilding competitions. Then, 15 years later, after a partial knee reconstruction, I chose to rehab the hell out of that knee so that I could run again. And as we speak, I'm focusing on prehabbing my hips. So I'm making the muscles around my hip joints as stable and as strong as they can be prior to my surgery, because I know that's going to help my recovery. And people say, oh, yeah, but that's you, Ginny, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, my default brain, the thought loops in my head tell me I can get away with doing less. I'm sore, so I should back off. I deserve to have a break. I don't need to exercise anymore. But you know what? I don't want to end up as a frail little old lady in a rest home. For one thing, I'd be a pain in the ass. I actually want to be a fit and active grandma. So I talked about Sid, my bouncer, when it came to food. Sid bounces those thoughts away as well. We don't entertainment. They're there, but we will not entertain them. We choose not to listen to those thoughts. So the knee reconstruction I had was kind of a classic example of this. So at the time, it was a really new procedure, and there were only four of them that were done in New Zealand. And of those four, two were successful and two were failures. And my surgeon said to me, I was one that was successful, that the two of us who were successful had good quad control. So in other words, we'd stayed active. We had trained our legs, we'd kept the muscles that are responsible for knee tracking strong, even though we were injured. And that was the difference. The two weren't a success, were sedentary. So they had no muscle tone in the first place. So let's run through some things that you can do if you're in pain or you're waiting surgery or you're post surgery or you just want some ideas to help stop or prevent your joint pain. Number one, I think, is physical activity. So, movement encourages the joint to produce synovial fluid. And synovial fluid is like oil in the joint. So, it helps everything, even if you're bone on bone, it helps everything glide across each other. So, if your joints are dried up with no synovial fluid, you're going to creak and crunch and everything's going to hurt more. So, gentle movement helps to produce that synovial fluid, so it keeps everything oiled and moving. So gentle movement can actually help to get nutrients into the joint and help encourage repair. You can strengthen the muscles around the joint. So for instance, like I just mentioned, if you strengthen your glute med, which is basically the side of your bum, and you strengthen your thigh muscles or your quads, you can improve your knee tracking. And this takes the stress off the knee joint. Similar exercises to strengthen my glutes are what are going to help me recover from my hip surgery. So I think the key for me when it comes to exercise has been focusing on what I can still do rather than falling into that trap of going, oh, it's not fair. I can't run anymore. I can't do water workout anymore. It's too painful, blah, blah, blah. What I tended to do was when I could no longer run, I started tramping. When I could no longer walk up hills, I started walking on the flat. When walking on the flat became painful, I started doing the bike and I started doing my cardio in the pool. So now I rotate round between the bike, the pool, and walking on the flat. And I find that doing that, I can get my heart rate up, I can keep my cardiovascular fitness without increasing my pain levels. And I listen to my body. If I need a day off, I take it. But I'm not letting a day off become my default, right? It almost needs to be earned. I say that with caution, but it does. It almost needs to be earned. You need to move as much as you can without causing more pain. If you're inactive because of your pain, your mood is going to get low and you're far more likely to become depressed. And we know that when people are depressed, the pain receptors in their brain become more sensitive. So, of course, that's just going to make everything worse. So, at the moment, for me, I'm focusing on training my upper body. I want to keep that strong. I'm training my core in the gym, my upper body core in the gym with modified leg exercises. So my leg exercises, I'm holding a TRX for support and I'm doing small range of motion in terms of lunges and squats, not so much lunges actually, squats, some single leg squats. I use resistance band. I do bridges, pushing out into a resistance band. So a bridge is lying on the floor, raising your hips off the floor. I do bridges squeezing into a medicine ball, but you could do it with a cushion. You could do it sitting in a chair, right? You can do these exercises sitting in a chair and pushing out into a resistance band or squeezing a cushion. Honestly, I do side steps with a resistance band. I do leg raises, side raises, donkey kicks, fire hydrants, all of those glute activation exercises, which are in the membership. I do all of those for my hips, and they're great for knees as well. So your goal should be to do a minimum of 30 minutes of exercise every day. And that might be chair yoga or chair stretches or some of those exercises, straightening out your one leg. So you're doing like a leg extension, but you're just sitting in a chair and you're doing a hamstring curl, just sitting in a chair. There is so much that you can do. Include that mobility, a little bit of stretching. If half an hour is too much, break it down into exercise snacks. You can accumulate it over the day. You could do 3 lots of 10 minutes or 6 lots of 5 minutes. Whatever works for you is fine, but move. So you keep those joints alive. You keep blood flow into them. You keep blood flow into the surrounding muscles so they don't shrivel up like prunes. We want them to be round like plums, not shriveled up like prunes. Um, because arthritis is caused primarily by inflammation, yes, there's wear and tear, but it's the inflammation that's the biggie. What you eat makes a huge difference. So, for instance, increasing fruits and vegetables, which I know is a message that I say in every single talk that I ever give, but that increases vitamin C. And vitamin C helps to make collagen and connective tissue. So, we want to increase our vitamin C levels. Now, those high vitamin C fruits and veggies, so for instance, things like berries, are really high in polyphenols, what we used to call antioxidants, which actually also help prevent inflammation and help to stop the joints breaking down. Or, you sometimes see, I don't know, on an ad for Voltaren or something, you might see the joint looking bright red. Okay, so eating a low inflammatory diet and those foods that are rich in those anti-inflammatory polyphenols is going to help with that. It might not be a cure, but like I said, for me, I think, oh my God, imagine if I didn't eat all of this good stuff. How would I be? So fruits and veggies, that's for the fiber as well. Omega-3 fatty acids, if you're a fish eater, that might be fish 3 times a week, or a good quality omega-3 algae oil is a really good thing to supplement with. I do that. What else? Nuts and seeds are also anti-inflammatory. The fiber that we talked about, so fiber in beans and legumes and whole grains can be really helpful too. For some people, dairy and gluten and the nightshade family, which is things like tomatoes, eggplant, potatoes, capsicums, can make inflammation worse, but that's not everybody. And it's not everybody all the time, and it's not a few people all the time either. It varies so much from person to person. Mainly what causes inflammation are the high fat, high sugar foods and snack foods. And that's where you want to look. So you want to look at what can you swap out. So it might be that you have ice cream for dinner every night. So if you swapped that for Greek yogurt with berries, that would be one swap that you could just work on, just work on these things one at a time. That may really help you. Same as if you're a biscuit eater or baking, instead of baking or a biscuit, and doesn't mean you can never have it, but most of the time, swap it out for a piece of fruit and a handful of nuts. Over a week, it makes a huge, huge difference. Really, the small changes, they help to reduce that systemic inflammation throughout your whole body. Protein is important, always important, because all of our tissues are made out of protein. So very, very important, especially important when you're preparing for surgery and post-surgery, because you really need lots of protein for your body to be able to heal itself. So if you're not sure about that, listen to last week's podcast on protein. Being hydrated, drinking enough H2O, so drinking enough water is really, really important. Your body will not spare fluid for synovial fluid in your joints. If you're not drinking enough water, it will take it elsewhere. So you need to be properly hydrated so that you're getting that hydration into your joint tissue so that they're not crunchy and creaky. So that's another thing that's really important. I think the third thing I want to talk about is, if it's applicable, weight loss, because every kilo extra that you carry is magnified like 3 to 5 times on your joints. So your knee joints or your hip joints, every step that you take. And often when I'm walking or I'm trying to get up the stairs and I'm in pain, I think about you guys that are carrying more weight than me. And I think to myself, thank goodness I'm not 90 kilos anymore because this is really tough at 60 kilos. If I had another 30 kilos on top of this, my life would be really, really shitty. Um, Visceral fat as well. So, visceral fat is the fat that sits around your internal organs, so your heart and your lungs and your intestines. Visceral fat is like an endocrine organ. We used to think it was benign, but it's not. It actually gives out pro-inflammatory cytokines. So you could think of it like pro-inflammatory hormones. It's giving out into your bloodstream. So it's causing damage. Those extra kilos, that extra ice cream is causing damage. So it's causing inflammation throughout your body. Also, people don't think of this, but high cholesterol, high blood pressure, pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes all prevent nutrients getting into the joint because they mess with your circulation. So the cholesterol makes your blood sticky, so then it can't get right out into the periphery. So, the same with the diabetes, the high blood pressure. So, being metabolically healthy is also really, really important. The fourth thing that I wanted to touch on was supplementation. And that's a tricky one because, again, like with the inflammatory foods like gluten and dairy, not talking about the high sugar, high fat, but the gluten and the dairy and the nightshades, some people are great responders when it comes to supplementation, and some people just aren't. So you can have two people, one takes glucosamine with chondroitin, and within 3 weeks, they're feeling a huge difference. Somebody else can take it. And honestly, it's about 50-50 on responders, non-responders. If you're not seeing a result after about the first 6 weeks, then you're probably wasting your money. So I think it's worth trying things, but just see how you go. Turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory. I grate fresh turmeric into my meals, and if you put it with black pepper as well, that really helps with the absorption of the curcumin, which is the main factor in there, we think, that is the anti-inflammatory. Um, but it doesn't work for everybody, right? I do it anyway because it's good for other things. It helps prevent bowel cancer and stuff. So I do it anyway. I don't know how much it's helping with my joints, if at all. Glucosamine, chondroitin haven't really helped me. MSM is another one that some people respond really well to. I would just say try things. If you don't, if you don't feel amazing after about 6 weeks, then you're probably wasting your money. The other thing that can help is hormone replacement therapy. So for me, that there's a syndrome called it's called menopausal musculoskeletal syndrome, and that is what I was talking about before, where all of your tissues start to become less elastic, and you start to get that joint pain, and you get injured, you don't mend so well, all of those things. And I had systemic pain everywhere. And taking estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone has helped. That systemic pain has gone. So I'm left with now the pain in my hips, but the other pain has gone. My back is still painful from years ago, but I manage it. I keep my core strong and I know what I can do and what I can't do. But I think that estrogen has made a big difference. Vitamin D is also definitely worth looking at. If your vitamin D levels are low, then you can just take a monthly supplement. It helps with mood, it helps with pain, it helps with bone density. So it will definitely help with osteoarthritis. And for me, I take the monthly one and then I top it up with a daily one as well. But it's a good thing to do. You can overdo it. So a good thing to do is get your bloods done and check your vitamin D levels. It's hard for us to get vitamin D from food. We get it from sunlight, but because we don't want wrinkles and we slip, slop, slap, and we're indoors a lot of the time, we don't always get as much as we should do. It's a good, on a fair skinned person, it's a good 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight on the upper half of your body to get enough vitamin D. And as we age, we're not so good at getting that conversion from sunlight into vitamin D either. The fifth thing I want to talk about, and this maybe should have been number one, is that we have to break away from our default thinking. And we have to get away from those negative thought loops that I was talking about earlier. And I know that's really difficult when you're in pain, especially when you're in constant pain. But I also know it's so easy to say to yourself, I can't do whatever the thing is. And so because you've said you can't do it, you don't try and adapt it. You put your life on hold until your surgery or until the magic day that the pain goes away. And by doing that, you're actually reducing your strength, you're reducing your power, you're making the situation worse. So you have to get away from that victim mentality of it's not fair, and you have to turn it around. So you've got to change those thoughts into a positive. The first thing you have to do is recognize those thoughts when they come in and turn them around. So instead of it's not fair, I manage my weight, I eat really well, and this has still happened to me, I think, thank goodness I eat well. Because if I didn't, this would be 10 times worse. Thank goodness I'm no longer 90 kilos, because if I still was 30 kilos heavier, this would be so much worse. Thank goodness I can still jump on the bike, which I hate, by the way. Thank goodness I can still jump in the pool. Thank goodness I can still do upper body strength in the gym. So please, please, please focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. Even if you're at a stage where all you can do is chair yoga and stretches, it's positive, it's good, and you will feel better, and physically you will be better for doing it. I just wanted to show you a couple of books that I've found helpful. This is a really old book. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you can't, I'll put the name of it in the show notes. So Arthritis, What Exercises Work. This is by Dava Sobel and Arthur C. Klein. I think I've had this book. Well, the book came out in 1993, and I was taking an arthritis group in South Auckland in probably 2005 or 6, which was when I bought this book. And I found it incredibly useful then. And I still actually use it now. I recently found a really great shoulder exercise in it, which I've been doing because I do get a bit scrunched up and crunchy through my shoulders from being at the computer so much. The other one is Rethink Your Position by Katie Bowman, which is a newer book. And it is fabulous. I use it a lot. She's got some great ideas in there, and a lot of it is about posture and how just repositioning yourself can make your body work in a different way and can help take the pain away and help to strengthen where you want to strengthen, not get short and tight where you don't want to be short and tight because it's going to be painful, basically. So they've been really helpful for me. If you are suffering with joint pain, please make a promise to yourself to move for 30 minutes a day, whatever that is for you. You know, whether you can still do weights and cardio like me, or if you're further compromised than that and it has to be in the pool or on the bike or in a chair, mobility exercises in a chair, do not underestimate them. Please, please, please do what you can. Keep your joints moving. Keep the muscles around your joints alive and working. Do not let them shrivel up like a prune. Increase your fruit and veggie intake. Focus on all of the colors, especially berries for those polyphenols. Get omega-3 fatty acids in through oily fish or an algae oil supplement. Listen to last week's podcast on protein if you haven't already. Make sure that you're properly hydrated. Swap out one high fat, high sugar vice that you have. It might be alcohol. Swap it out for something healthier. Just one thing at a time. Just work on what you can do easily. Pick that low hanging fruit. If applicable for you, lose weight, but just focusing on the movement and the food swaps will help you to drop visceral fat, which will help you to drop systemic inflammation and which will also help your metabolic health. So it will help reduce cholesterol, it will help lower your blood pressure, it will help lower your blood sugars or HbA1c. So just doing what we've talked about will help, and reducing your systemic inflammation will help to stop your body breaking your joints down. Try supplementation. Definitely look at your vitamin D status. Think about omega-3 fatty acids. Possibly try glucosamine and chondroitin MSM, but don't waste your money on expensive supplements on the internet that really have no evidence backing them. I think I might have lost my place. Just hang on a minute. This is raw, this podcast, isn't it? It's real, guys. It's real. Be grateful for all that you have and all that you can do. Make yourself a program. Be aware of those negative thoughts. I know that this has been quite generic, but I hope that it's helpful to you. For your knees, bike. The bike is so good for your knees. And if you can no longer walk or run, the bike is really good for your hips. Get in the water, swim or water walk. If you need more help and support with this, then I'd encourage you to click the link below. There's a free nutrition guide. It is for weight loss, but even if you don't need to lose weight, if you make those swaps, it will help drop your inflammation. If you have specific questions, please come on to, I've got a workshop on the 28th of January online. Please come and join me on that. If weight loss is an issue for you, jump onto my Lose 10 Kilos in 12 Weeks challenge. And if you want to gift yourself a full reset, come and join me in beautiful northern Bali. Escape the winter, escape New Zealand winter, and come and do a complete mental and physical reset with me. Have a look below for the names of the books and the resources I've just mentioned. As always, have a fantastic week. And do message me with your questions or just feedback, or let me know how you're going. I love hearing from you. I've had messages from so many of you on my journey with my hips, and it's really helped to support me, but it also helps me to support other people. So please, please, please do stay in touch with me. Next week, in light of the kind of January theme, which is New Year, Fresh Start, we're going to talk about habit trackers, how they work, why they're effective, what you might want to put on them, and how to use them. So that's next week. Have a happy, healthy week as always, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe. Leave me a message. Love you all. Thank you for being part of my world. And I'll speak to you again next week.